Depression from grief. Where do I go from here? I have a viewer who asked me those exact words, and she said that she felt like she was stuck in a grief prison, that she was just going through the motions of her life, and she felt like no one would ever understand her the way her husband did. So this is Grief Inspired, and my name is Catherine McNulty. And what we do here at Grief Inspired is I help educate you on the grief process and give you tools and hope that you can get through it. And as you go through it, I'm going to give you some tools to make the process a little bit easier, help it go a little more quickly for you so that you don't spend as much time being stuck as I did when I was stuck for 2 long years. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about depression. We're going to talk about the difference between medical and what I call situational depression. We're going to talk about why depression can make us feel so stuck. And then we're going to talk about how do you get through it? How do you move forward? So again, this is the response to a question that one of my viewers sent in. So I want to encourage you, if you also have questions, please drop your questions in your comments below so that I can make videos specifically for you, because I can assure you that if you have questions about grief, that other people will have the same question. So you'll be helping yourself and you'll be helping others at the same time. And I think that's a good thing. So drop your comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And as you can see, if you've been with me for a while, we're really starting to pick up some steam and the channel is growing in numbers of subscribers. So that's fantastic. I want to thank you. Before we dive in, I want to thank you for you subscribing. So again, my viewer was saying how depressed she was, that she was tired of living depressed, that she had been feeling depressed for a long time. She used the words that she was feeling stuck in a prison cell, that she was really just going through the motions of her life. And she felt like her husband was the only person who really understood her. And she was wondering how to go on. And that was why her question was, where do I go from here? So let's talk about it. First, I want to start by talking about the difference between medical depression and what I call situational depression. Now, again, when you are diagnosed by a therapist or your doctor as being depressed, they don't really have a good way to measure depression, right? They're not looking at your brain. They're not taking blood samples to look at what your serotonin level is, determine anything. What they're doing is they're asking you questions and then they're making a diagnosis based on those questions. And sometimes I don't like the term depression through grief because we get the terms confused. Medical depression is something that's outside of the situation that you may not know why you're feeling depressed. In this scenario, in our conversation here today, we're talking about depression from grief. And depression from grief is never wrong. Depression from grief is something that happens. It's part of the process. It's necessary to move toward true healing from grief. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Is it hard? Absolutely. Is it hard to be in the situation where she is right now, feeling like she's stuck in a prison, feeling like she's just walking through the motions of life and she's not really living? Yes, it's a challenge and it's a struggle, but that's okay because it's a necessary part of the process. And again, this type of depression is because you've lost someone that you love. So if you're feeling depressed too, of course you are. You're sad. You feel like you miss them. You feel lonely. You're grieving all of the things that you thought you were going to get to do with your loved one. And that's been taken away from you. And so feeling depressed, yes, it's necessary. And if you didn't feel depressed, well, then they would label you as psychopath. Or a sociopath. And, because that's a person who really doesn't experience emotions. So keep in mind that depression is a necessary part of the grief process, that if you're feeling that way, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you have to run to the doctor and ask for anxiety medication, ask for depression medication. The reality is that you need to feel this to move through it. It's a necessary part of grief. And as hard as it is, know that you can and you will get through this. And I think that that's important. So what you want to watch out for, however, is the depression that lingers for a long time. Because what happened for me, and this is my personal experience, is that I became very tied to my depression because I lost my son. He was 6 weeks old. And I felt like my life was ruined. And so I felt like a victim. I felt like I deserved to be so sad, and that because he was no longer here. And so I held on tightly to my depression, and I held on to it, and I wouldn't let it go because I didn't believe that I deserved to be happy. I didn't believe that I was supposed to find happiness again. I had this notion in my head that because I had lost my son, that I had been sentenced, talking about a prison cell, that I had been sentenced to a life of misery and sadness. And so depression can really rob you of any memories of what it was like when you were happy before, of what memory is, or of what happiness is, and what feeling happy again will be. And it causes us to focus very much inward on ourselves, and we become victims, and we feel sorry for ourselves, and we hold on tightly to our depression, as if we let that depression go, that we are somehow losing the people that we loved or letting them go. And so you lose interest in the things that make you happy. You lose interest in the day-to-day things that you used to enjoy, right? And so that's why you start to feel like you're just going through the motions of life and you're not really living. And I've heard it expressed as, well, I like the feeling of being in the prison cell. I like that analogy because I think if you're depressed, you can relate to that. So let me know what you think of that. I've also heard people saying they feel like there's a dark cloud overhead, that just, even if you want to be happy, like you just can't. And that's what depression is. And I recently found this book again that I got out, and this is Marianne Williamson's Tears to Triumph. It's the spiritual journey from suffering to enlightenment. And she talks about suffering, and she talks about sort of the necessity of suffering in the human condition. And when it happens to us, we feel like we are the only people who are grieving. We are the only people who understand how much we hurt and how much pain we have. But the reality is that grief is not new. Depression and sadness as a result of grief is not new. What it is it's a necessary part of our lives. And it's a struggle that's come into your life right now. And it's something that you can work through. And it is a time to look within. It's a time of growth. You will grow as a person, as a human, as a result of this. And it's hard to see that when you're in it, but once you move through it, and you will see. And what it has done personally for me is it's opened my heart. It's given me, Marianne Williamson says, an x-ray into the soul, into the heart of other people, that I can see other people's pain and I can be sensitive to it now. And I have compassion for it. And I have compassion for all of you because I remember my own pain. And I remember how much it hurt, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone. But again, you're not alone in this. I'm here with you. And there are other people who are here, part of my viewer community, that are here and will watch and support you as well. So we're all kind of in this together. And I want to remind you that if you're feeling stuck right now, feeling stuck can be hard. And And we think that it'll last forever. We think that our pain will last forever. But what you need to believe, and you need to trust in me, that your depression will lift. That the cloud that is seemingly over your head and darkening everything will eventually move. The wind will blow and that will move. And we have to remember that there are times in our lives where, like the seasons change, our lives will change, and we shouldn't expect to always be happy. There are times when we're not. There are times when we get depressed like this. There are times, things that will happen, and this probably won't be the last time that you're feeling sad or depressed, and it's probably not. Most of us are going to lose more than one person in our life. And so again, it's something that you need to, just remember that you can get through this. Give yourself, I love saying, give yourself some grace, which means, being a little bit gentle with yourself and reminding yourself that you deserve to be happy. And I just grabbed onto my necklace here, and this is the necklace that I desperately wanted to have my son with me, or a reminder of him with me. And so I remember telling my sister, please go get me a locket. I need a locket, and I need to have his pictures with me. And so I have this necklace, and I've had it, for the 12 years since I've lost him. And so I wore it today to feel a little closer to him. I don't wear it every day, but when I do, I'm carrying him with me. And I think that you can do the same thing. So what do you do when you're stuck in this depression? And how do you get out of it? I think there's 3 different things. The first is you need to believe that this isn't going to last forever. And if you don't believe it for yourself, believe it because I'm telling you, because there are so many people who have gone through the deepest, darkest periods of grief and have come out of it. They've done it, and you can too, and you deserve to get through this. And again, this is part of the process. There is nothing medically wrong with you. This is not a disease. You're not going crazy. This is grief. This is part of the depression of grief. So the first thing is believe that you can get through this. The second is to continue to educate yourself. So spend time learning more about what's going on with you. Use this as a period of time to look within, to understand your struggle, to understand why you feel the depth of the pain that you do. And ask yourself the question, what can I learn from this? Watch more, all of the videos that I put together here, I put them together to educate you, to help you learn, to look at your own. So go back and replay some of the videos, because as you go through the grief process, you can watch the same video more than once. And if you're at different times in your grief process, you're going to hear and see different things in the video. So use these to educate you and to give you inspiration along the way, to remind you that you can and you will get through this. And third, if you're really, really stuck and you feel like this depression cannot lift and you don't know what to do, one, you can email me. I always want to encourage that. You can email me at griefinspired@gmail.com. If you want direct communication with me that's private, please feel free to do that. I welcome your emails, because that's only going to give me the opportunity to help you more, to learn more about what people are going through, and to, give me good new content so that I can continue to share and continue to help you. But the third thing was get support. There is such a strength in asking for help and getting support. And yet there's this underlying belief in our society that somehow if you ask for support, that you're weak. And I want to call bullshit on that, because it's just not true. Grief needs a place to go. You need to talk through your grief. You need to get it out, whether it's by talking to a therapist, a coach, sending me an email, writing it down in a journal of your own. Getting your grief out is necessary, and it's helpful. And I've put together a journal that's going to be coming out soon. When it comes out, I will list it on Amazon, so you will know that it's there for you. And I also have, a course that's called 30 Days of Virtual Hugs, the 30 short videos. I'll drop the link for that below. So if you want to go through that, that's 30 different topics that you can go back to again and again that can help remind you how to get through your grief. But yes, getting support is a sign of strength. It is not weakness. So believe that you can get better. Educate yourself during the process. Look within, see what you can learn. Remember that this is a time for growth and exploration. And then third is get support if you feel like you need it. And you should feel like you need it, and you should get support, because it's not fair to go through this without any. It's harder and it takes longer. And it keeps you stuck longer. So get unstuck so that you can continue to heal, so that you can find happiness again, and you can find meaning and purpose in what this experience is for you. And always remember that you are never going to forget your loved one, that you will always carry their love in your heart. And although they may not be with you physically, they will always be with you. And I believe that. And I want you to have the hope and belief that you're going to be okay too. So reach out to me, griefinspired@gmail.com. Let me know how you're doing. And let me know if these videos help you. And I hope and I pray that they do. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.